10 gigabit per second business bandwidth options, a Telexplainer. Metropolitan and wide area network speeds are on the rise. Undersea cables are being upgraded from 10 to 40 and soon 100 gigabits per second bandwidth, with terrestrial fiber runs moving to 100 gigabits per second now. Likewise, major corporations, healthcare providers, and video content producers are starting to feel the squeeze of too small network connections. Fortunately, there are more options and better pricing available today than ever before. There are several practical solutions to increasing your MAN or WAN bandwidth above the gigabit per second level and on up to 10 gigabits per second. Let's see what we can do with Sonnet, Ethernet, wavelength, and dark fiber. Sonnet is the telecom fiber optic standard invented by Bell Labs for the telephone industry. It was originally deployed to transport thousands upon thousands of simultaneous telephone calls between switching centers. Sonnet has evolved to carry data as well as digitized phone calls. And as it turns out, voice traffic is now in the minority. Sonnet, S-O-N-E-T, stands for Synchronous Optical Network. That describes how it's designed. This is a tightly synchronized time division multiplex system intended for switch circuit implementation. There are specific service levels associated with Sonnet levels. These are designated as OC, or optical carrier levels. The lowest generally available is OC3 at 155 megabits per second. That's followed by OC12 at 622 megabits per second. The next level, OC24, takes you to the gigabit level at 1.24 gigabits per second. OC24 isn't as commonly deployed as the next level, OC48, at 2.5 gigabits per second. OC48 is becoming a new high-bandwidth standard for organizations that need high-speed private lines or dedicated internet connections. OC192 is the 10 gigabit service level, running at a line rate of 9.95 gigabits per second. From there you jump up to OC768 at 40 gigabits per second. You'll recognize that as a backbone network bandwidth for fiber optic carriers. OC768 isn't generally required at the corporate level just yet. Notice that there are fairly wide gaps in the service levels between Sonnet OC levels. If you need 2 gigabits per second, OC48 service at 2.5 gigabits per second makes sense. However, if you need 3 gigabits per second, you have to go all the way up to OC192 at 10 gigabits per second. In some cases, you can find fractional OC48 service at a better price. This is simply OC48 that is throttled to provide only the 1 gigabit per second or other bandwidth you need. There may not be much cost savings since OC48 is a standard service level, and fractional Sonnet services are a special order if they're even available. Carrier Ethernet is far more scalable than Sonnet. It does have industry standard service levels such as 100 megabit per second fast Ethernet, 1 gigabit per second gigabit Ethernet, and 10 gigabit per second 10 gig E. Most service providers will allow you to scale your service in small increments up to the maximum capacity of the installed port. With a 10 gig E port, you can easily get 3 gigabits per second, 9 gigabits per second, or bandwidths in between. Since Ethernet networks were designed with this scalability in mind from the beginning, service level changes are fairly automated and can be made in a matter of days, if not hours, with no equipment changes needed. Wavelength services are offered for high-performance latency-sensitive applications. Dense wavelength division multiplexing, DWDM, splits the fiber optic laser beam into dozens of individual wavelengths or colors that act as independent private lines. There's no interconnection between the wavelengths. A wavelength is dedicated to your needs and carries your traffic exclusively. Typical speeds are 1 gigabit Ethernet, 2.5 gigabits per second, 10 gigabits per second, 10 gig Ethernet, and 40 gigabits per second. Note that both Sonnet and Ethernet protocols are available over the individual wavelengths. Dark fiber gives you the ultimate in flexibility. It's simply a glass strand between two of your locations. You can run any protocol you like at any speed you want, over as many wavelengths as you care to deploy. Bandwidth is nearly unlimited, but the catch is that you have to buy, install, and maintain the transmission equipment that feeds the fiber. Have your requirements reached the point where 10 gigabit bandwidth services are a reasonable consideration? The good news is there are multiple carriers eager to bid for your business between 1 gigabit per second and 10 gigabits per second or beyond. Get competitive quotes for gigabit and 10 gigabit level fiber optic services right now. You may be surprised how affordable these high bandwidth services have become. Simply call toll-free 888-848-8749 or visit telexplainer.net for the latest quotes.